Welcome to Patent Pod Chat with noted inventor and patent attorney Chris Maiorana. Each week, Chris answers your questions on patents, trademarks, and inventions. Now, here's Chris Maiorana.
What is an office action?
An office action is the document that the patent office will mail to an applicant in a patent application file. So the patent office mails office actions, then the applicant files amendments or responses.
So is it unusual for the patent office to reject all of the claims?
Unfortunately, it's more the norm than an unusual circumstance. So the patent office will allow some claims in a first office action, but they tend to use that as more of a fishing expedition and reject all of the claims and push it on the applicants to make some arguments in support of patentability.
Okay, so what is the time period to respond to an office action?
And normally, an applicant gets 3 months to respond to an office action.
Okay, so why do you send the office action to your clients right away?
And you would think that there's no rush to get the office action out to the client, but that is one of my business models where I want to get that right out to them so at least they know that they have a deadline. They'll get a quick note that says, a response is due by whatever the date we dock it is. Then they know that that's due, and then we can go from there.
How should the time be used?
When we first get an action, what we need to do is do some preliminary analysis of what the patent office examiner is saying and what we thought the claims were intended to cover in the first place. So if we get that out to the client, we can have some talks with them to at least make sure that they even want to respond. Sometimes there's business factors that come into play that we may not even know about, that the client will say, just drop that one. Or, a small client may just say, I'm not even in the business anymore. I don't want to spend any more money on that. So it's a good reason to get that document out to them, let them know there's a business decision. If we want to move forward, then we can work out a strategy for a response.
Do you need input from the inventor to respond?
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. There's a lot of very technical and rule-based things that the patent office will send out. We likely don't need any input on that, and it's more confusing than anything to clients. But there are also more things that are based on the patent references themselves, and those are the things that we're really looking for input from a client on.
Okay, so are the claim of the references important?
Yeah, so the patent office a lot of times will cite other U.S. patents, and a lot of times a client will look at the claims of that and say, they're only claiming this or they're only claiming that. Unfortunately, that's not the standard for patentability. For patentability, patent office can use anything in the specification, the drawings, or the claims as art against the client's claims. So we need to address all three of those.
Is there a difference between an office action and a final office action?
Yeah, there is. So the first action that's mailed, sometimes we call it the non-final office action. So that has the 90 days to respond that we talked about. In response to a non-final office action, you have the right to amend the claims. And the patent office will have to mail or have to enter those amendments into the file. If it's a final office action, which usually happens on the second mailing by the patent office, you don't have a right to amend the claims anymore. So then you're stuck with the idea of deciding whether to just argue without an amendment, which potentially could lead to an appeal, or amending and ending up having to pay the fee for a RCE.
Is there a difference in strategies when responding?
There is. So with the final action, you want to decide when you're drafting that whether you do need to amend the claims or not. If you do, then you might as well amend them significantly, or at least enough that you don't have to do a partial amendment in one response and another amendment in another response. Because you're going to get stuck paying that RCE fee anyway. But if you don't amend the claims, you're pretty much deciding at that point that you're going to move forward with an appeal. And then one other thing to throw in there is that there's a different standard between patentability and infringement. So for patentability, we need to show that there's an element of the claims that's not found in the references. And we mentioned either in the figures, the specification, or the claim. But when we go back to infringement, we need to show that a potential infringer shows each of the elements that are in your claim. So when we're drafting claims and trying to get them through the patent office, the key idea for a broad claim is to have fewer words. So fewer words is better in the claim so that you can ultimately enforce your patent.
Thank you for listening to Patent Podcast with noted inventor and patent attorney Chris Maiorana. Join us next time as Chris answers your questions on patents, trademarks, and inventions.